They're gonna clean up your looks with all the lies in the books to make a citizen out of you. Because you sleep with a gun and keep your eye on your son, so that you watch other things you do. Because
G'day guys, my name's Dave and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play Teenagers by My Chemical Romance, which is an awesome tune. It's got some cool riffs to learn as well. For the basics of this song, you'll just need your guitar in standard tuning and you won't need a capo. Now, all the tones that you hear in this lesson are recorded using the Boss Guitar 100 Mark II. If you want the tone patch, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. If you want to master your chords back to front, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Or if you want to improve any guitar in general, then check out Guitar Zero to Hero Premium, which is my complete step-by-step guitar course. Alright, let's jump into the lesson. Okay, so first off, I'm going to start by teaching you all of Ray Toro's guitar parts, which is basically the rhythm guitar for this song, except with the solo section where he actually plays the solo. And in the second half of this video, I'll be teaching you Frank's guitar parts, and he plays most of the lead guitar parts for the majority of the song. Now, in terms of guitar tone, I'm just using a high gain amp channel. So just cranking that gain up on the amp so that you get that distorted sound. But other than that, there's nothing really special about this guitar tone. You could get a similar sound through a clean amp channel by just adding an overdrive or distortion pedal in front of it. On your guitar settings, you'll ideally want all your tone settings up at 10, and you'll want to use your bridge pickup as well. Okay, so let's start with verse 1. Now, this is based off a basic 8-bar blues chord progression. Now, once you learn this 8 bars of music, the rest of the song in terms of rhythm is more or less the same with slight variations. So for this first verse, we're going to start with an E5 power chord. So you literally just need your index finger here on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. So we're going to focus on the 6th and 5th strings here with this E5 power chord. Now get your ring finger here ready because we're going to need to put on the 4th fret of the 5th string in a moment. So we're going to strike that 2 times and then 1 time with our ring finger up on the 4th fret and then back at the 2nd fret. So 4 strikes. Now, after those first 4 strikes, you just want to lift all your fingers and mute all the strings so that there's a pause. So 1, 2, mute, like that. That's the first half, and the second half, we're going to hit this power chord 1 more time. And then with our middle finger, put on the 3rd fret of the 6th string and hammer onto the 4th fret with your ring finger. So we're just going to strike that once and hammer on, and then an upstroke on the 1st and 2nd strings. So the second half, and all together. 1, 2, 3. Now, one other thing we need to add to this is palm muting. So what we're going to do is take the fleshy bit of our palm here and rest it very lightly on the edge of the bridge. Now, if you go too far in, when you strike the strings, nothing's going to ring out. So it needs to be right on the edge, and then you get that nice chug sound when you strike the strings. Your palm will sort of just rest there on the bridge and you'll pivot around that point. There's no need to slide your palm up and down like that when you're striking strings. We apply that to all the notes except for the final upstroke of the open 1st and 2nd strings, and palm muted, it will sound like this. 3. We're going to play that twice. Now for the 3rd bar, we're going to start with the same 4 notes. Now for the second half, we're going to take our pinky finger and put it up to the 5th fret of the 5th string, and we're going to strike the 6th and 5th strings. Back to the 2nd fret, back up to the 4th fret, and back down to the 2nd fret. So the last 4 strikes. And all together, 1, 2, 3. So that's what the notes sound like, but we also need to add palm muting to that as well. So the 3rd bar, 1, 2, 3. For the 4th bar, we're going to go up to the 7th and 9th frets, but we're going to play our power chord with our index and middle finger. So this is going to be a bit of a stretch, but this is exactly how you'll see Ray Toro play it live. So we're going to strike this power chord twice, and then with our free pinky finger, reach up to the 11th fret of the 5th string, strike the 6th and 5th strings again, and then lift your pinky finger and go back to our original position. So those are the first 4 notes. and then we mute after that section, and then we're going to hit that power chord again. Then with our ring finger put on the 10th fret of the 6th string, we're going to hit that and then hammer on to the 11th fret with our pinky finger. So just hit that string once, but hammer on with our pinky finger, and then end by hitting the power chord one more time. So the final section. It's a bit of a tricky stretch, but if you keep at it, you should be able to get it. And all together for the final bar. Now we will need to add some palm muting here, but just for the first 3 or 4 strums. So the final bar. So that's the first line of tab and total, which sounds like this. The second line of tab will then move to an A5 power chord. So we're just going down 2 frets from where we were with the B5 power chord. And we're going to basically play the exact same thing we did with the B5 power chord, but just down 2 frets. And we're going to add that palm muting to the first 3 or 4 strums as well. And then we're going to move this power chord shape up to the E5 power chord, but up at the 5th string. So from the A5, move your shape down 1 string and then up 2 frets. And we're going to focus on the 5th and 4th strings here. So the first 4 strikes are similar to the previous 2 bars. So 2 strikes on the power chord and then reach up with our pinky for 1 strum and then back to our original power chord. So for the final section though, it differs a slight bit. So we're going to hit our power chord and then our hammer on will be on the 6th string. So 10th to 11th on the 6th string and then back to our power chord. So the final section. Now again, that is a little bit of a stretch and you don't need to necessarily keep your fingers here on the power chord, although it does help. So you can keep the power chord and then let go and then do the hammer on and then go back to the power chord if you want. And for the second bar. Then for the third bar, we're going to go up to the B5 power chord that we had. For the first 4 strums, it's this power chord twice, then stretch up to the pinky finger once and then back down to the regular power chord. For the second half, we're going to reach our pinky up to the 12th fret, lift our pinky finger back to the original power chord, and then pinky on the 11th fret of the 5th string, back down to the original power chord. So the last 4 strums, and this third bar. But that's all palm muted as well. And the final bar here just returns to this E5. And it's exactly the same as the start of the verse 1. So the second line of tab and total. And in total for verse number 1. Now we get to verse 1 part 2. Now this is almost identical to the previous verse that we learned, but we are changing a couple of things. So first off, we are no longer palm muting any of the power chords. We're going to hit these power chords really hard and not palm mute them. Like that. So that's the first variation, and the second variation is in the final bar. So for the final bar, we head home to our E5 power chord and we're going to strike that and then mute. And then there's a small lick here that takes us into the chorus. So we're going to have our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string and have your ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So we're going to hit the 3rd string here and we're going to slide up to the 3rd fret and slide the whole shape up as well. So not just your middle finger. And then we're going to hit the 1st string and hit the 3rd string and slide back down to the 2nd fret. And then the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So those 2 little chunks. And then we're going to go down to the 1st fret of the 3rd string and all together. And the final bar in this verse 1 part 2. And verse 1 part 2 in total. Next we get to chorus 1, which is basically identical to that verse 1 part 2. The only thing is that we're cutting out that little riff at the very end, and that's it. Next we get to verse number 2, which is almost identical to verse 1 with one variation. So for the final bar, we're playing the same bar as the final bar in verse 1 part 2. So the E5 and the little lick. But everything else in verse 2 is the same as verse 1, including the palm muting. If you want to see that in context, go to the playthrough at the end of the song. Next we get to chorus 2, which is almost the same as chorus 1, except in the final bar we have some extra notes here. So we're going to start with that E5, and then we have 4 notes here. So the open 6th string, 2nd fret, 4th fret, and then the open 6th string again. So the final bar. But everything else about that chord progression is the same as chorus 1. Now we get to the solo. Now what I've done in terms of the tone is just added a booster pedal to give it a little bit more grit, and then I've added some reverb to this as well. So for this solo, there's 2 lines of tab. We're going to start with our index finger barred across the 5th frets of the 1st and 2nd string. So we're going to hit those 2 strings and then mute straight after. So to mute, you can just lift your fretting hand, or you can just drop your palm onto the strings like that in order to not let those notes ring out. We're going to take our ring finger after that, 7th fret of the 3rd string, bend that up a full tone, and then with our index finger go back to the 5th frets of the 1st and 2nd strings and strike that. And then with our ring and pinky go to the 7th frets of the 3rd and 2nd strings and strike those 2 strings for this verse section. After that, we're going to go down to the 5th fret of the 3rd string, hit that, and hammer onto the 6th with our middle finger. And then back up to the 5th frets of the 1st and 2nd string with our index finger. So that little chunk. Mute after that, and then we're going to take our ring and pinky fingers and put them on the 7th frets of the 4th and 2nd strings. Now, whilst you're muting that, you want to just rest your index finger across all the other strings behind those notes. And that way, you're going to mute all the other strings, and just the 7th frets of the 4th and 2nd string will ring out if you strum all the strings. So we're going to hit that with a down strum and then a muted down up. So lift your fretting fingers from their notes and just get that mute. So 2 mutes and then another down strum. So after that, we strike it again and slide up to the 9th fret. So this section, and for the first 2 bars. Then for the 3rd bar, we're going to go up to the 12th fret with our index finger. We're going to strike the 1st and 2nd strings, and then mute the strings, and then go up to the 14th fret of the 3rd string, hit that, down to the 12th, and hammer onto the 13th, and back up to the 12th frets of the 1st and 2nd strings. So after that, we have the most complicated run of this solo. So we're going to go up to the 15th fret of the 2nd string, hit that and bend up a full tone, and you can add some vibrato to that bend as well. Completely up to you though. So after the bend, we'll just release and then hit the regular 15th fret. So after that, down to the 12th fret, hammer on and pull off, and then up to the 15th fret of the 3rd string. So those first 4 notes, then 12th fret of the 2nd string, 15th fret of the 3rd, 14th fret, back up to the 15th fret, but pluck that, pull off to the 14th and pull off to the 12th. So you just need to pluck it once and then pull off twice, like that, and then end on the 14th fret of the 4th string, and we can just slide out of that. So from that 12th fret of the 2nd string, and in total for that long section. And the first line of tab in total. For the second line of tab, we go back down to this 5th fret of the 1st and 2nd strings. We hit that, then 7th fret of the 3rd string, then down to the 5th and hammer onto the 6th, and back up to the 5th fret double stop. So that first chunk. Mute after that, hit the double stop again, and then hit it one more time. Then down to the 7th fret, 5th fret of the 3rd string, hammer onto the 6th, and then back up to the double stop, and then end on the 7th fret of the 4th string. So the second section. For the 3rd bar, we'll go up to the 7th fret of the 1st and 2nd string, hit that double stop, and then with our ring finger go into the 9th fret of the 3rd string, and we're going to hit the 3rd and 2nd strings together, but bend up the 3rd string. Like that. And whilst your finger is bent up, we're going to keep it there and then continuously hit it like that. So we're going to hit it and then mute it, hit it and then mute it. And we're going to continuously keep doing that until the 4 beat of the next bar, where we'll hit it and release and pull off to the 7th fret. And then after that pull off, we'll end the solo with the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So from the 3rd bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's it for the solo, which sounds like this in total. Next we get to the chorus 3, which is the same as the other choruses except for the final bar, where we're just going to do some muted strumming. So no need to fret a chord, we're just lightly touching all the strings, not pushing down, and we're going to strum a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's it for chorus 3. Now chorus 4 is the same as the other choruses, again with the exception of the final bar. So we're going to start with that E5 power chord, strike that, mute all the strings, and then we're going to play that small pre-chorus lick that we learnt. And then hit an E major chord. So the final bar of chorus 4, which ends the song. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you all of Frank's guitar parts, and he plays most of the lead for the majority of this song. So let's start with verse 1, part 2. We're just going to play some single note licks here, and it's all going to be palm muted. So again, take the fleshy bit of your palm, rest it lightly on the edge of the bridge as you're plucking these notes. So start on the 7th fret of the 5th string, we're going to pluck this note twice, and then down to the 6th, and back up to the 7th. So those 4 notes. And then just mute everything. Don't let anything ring out. We're going to do that for the first 2 bars. For the 3rd bar, we're going to hit this 7th fret 4 times, and then up to the 11th fret 4 times, and then down to the 9th fret twice, up to the 11th, and back down to the 9th. So 3rd and 4th bar. For the second line of tab, we go up to the 12th fret of the 5th string. We're going to pluck that 4 times. Mute, and then hit the 12th fret one more time, and down to the 11th. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we go down to the 9th fret, hit that twice, up to the 11th fret, and then down to the 7th fret. So 4 notes, and then hit the 7th fret another 2 times. And for the 3rd bar, we go down to the 6th fret twice, slide up to the 7th fret twice, and then 9th fret, 11th fret, back down to 9th, and then end on the 7th. So the third and fourth bars. And in total for verse 1, part 2. 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4. Alright, next we get to the chorus. Now we're just going to play a whole bunch of octaves here. So we're going to start with an E octave here. So index finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string and pinky finger on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Now as you hit the 7th fret of the 5th string, you want to lightly rest your index finger across all the other strings. We're not barring here, you're just lightly touching all the other strings so that when you strum them, nothing rings out. Only the 5th string that you're fretting down with your index finger. And ideally you want to slightly touch the 6th string as well so that only the 5th string rings out. The 6th string is muted. Place your pinky down, that's our octave shape. So we're going to hit this twice, down 1 fret and back up. So 4 strums here, mute, then we'll go down to 2nd fret octave, 4th fret, and up to 6th, and the bar in total. That bar is repeated through twice. Then for the 3rd bar, we strike this E octave 3 times. Then we're going to go to the 11th fret octave with a down, up, down, 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 and then down to the 9th fret octave with a down, down, down. And then up to the 11th fret, and back down to the 9th. So to finish this bar, we hit this 9th fret octave another 2 times, and up to the 12th fret octave with a down up. So the 3rd and 4th bar. For the 2nd line of tab, we're going to stay on this 12th fret octave and continue on with our strumming. Strum this 4 times, mute, and then hit it 1 more time. Go to the 11th fret, 9th fret, so the bar. And then for the next bar, we're going to continue with this 9th fret octave 3 times. On the 3rd time, we slide up to the 11th. And then end on the 7th fret octave. So there's 4 strums. And then to finish this bar, hit this octave another 3 times. So the first 2 bars. And then for the 3rd bar, down to this 6th fret octave twice, up to the 7th fret octave twice, 9th, 11th, 9th, and end on the E octave. So the 3rd and 4th bar. And that's it for the chorus lead, which sounds like this. Next we get to verse 2, which is same as verse 1 part 2. Nothing new to learn there. Chorus 2 is the same as chorus 1, and then we get to the solo section where we're going to play some more octaves. So we're going to start with this 12th fret octave here, and for this first bar we're just going to be strumming this at 16th notes. So down, up, down, up, down, up motion. 1 again, 2 again, 3 again, 4 again. For the next bar we're basically going to do the same up until the end beat after the 3, where we're going to slide down to the 11th fret, strike that, and then strike it again on the 4 beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. For the second line of tab, this is probably the trickiest part, just getting the timing right. But we're going to start on the 6th fret octave, strike that, and then slide up to the 7th fret with an up, down. So let's break this up into chunks of 4. So 1. For the next chunk, we start on the 7th fret and then move up to the 9th fret. So 2. For this next chunk, we start on this 9th fret and move up to the 11th fret octave. 3. And then for this 4th bar, we're going to start on this 11th fret and move down to the 9th. So 4 E, and then stay on this 9th, and then slide down to the 7th. And 4 E, and this first bar in total. 2, 3, 4. For the second bar, we start off with the 7th fret and move up to the 9th fret. So 1, then 9th fret, move up to the 11th fret. 2, for the next section, we stay on this 11th fret. On the up strum, go down to the 9th, and then on the next down strum, down to the 7th fret octave, and strike this 3 times at 8th notes. So, so the second bar. So the second line of tab in total. For the third line of tab, we're just playing 2 bars of this 12th fret octave at 16th notes. So that's pretty simple. For the fourth line of tab, we're going to go up to the 14th fret octave. And now we're strumming all down strums at 8th notes. And we're going to strike this 4 times. And then up to the 17th fret octave 3 times. Back down to the 14th fret octave. So that first bar. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And for the final bar, just continue on playing this 14th fret octave. So the final line of tab. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And in total for the solo section. Chorus 3 is almost the same as the other choruses, except for that final bar where we're just playing some muted strumming. So similar to what Toro does in his guitar parts there. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then for chorus 4, we're just ending with an E5 power chord like that. So those are all of Frank's guitar parts. In these upcoming playthroughs at the end of this lesson, I'm going to start by doing a full playthrough of Ray's parts, and then I'll do a full playthrough of Frank's parts. A big thanks to my friend Tugler for lending his awesome vocals to this playthrough. Feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go.
They're gonna clean up your looks with all the lies in the books to make a citizen out of you. Because you sleep with a gun and keep your eye on your son, so that you watch other things you do. Because you judge everyone, they gotta give you a smoke, 'cause they got methods of keeping you clean. They gotta rip up your head, your aspirations to shreds, and all the crowd in the bed. your looks with all the lies in the books to make a citizen out of you. Because they sleep with a gun and keep your eye on your son so they can watch other things you do. Because the drugs never work, they're gonna give you a smoke, cause they got methods of keeping you clean. They're gonna rip up your head, your aspirations to shreds. You're not the cog in the murder machine. They said all teenagers got the shit out of me. They can kill us as long as someone will bleed. So tuck in your clothes, I strap you right in the post. Maybe I'll leave you with one the boys and girls in the clique, the awful names that they stick, they're never gonna fit in much, kid. But if you trouble tonight, what you got under your skirt will make them pay for the things that they did. They said, oh, teenagers got the shit out of me. They can kill us as long as someone will bleed. So tuck in your clothes, I strap you right in the post. Maybe I'll leave you with one around me. Oh, yeah. Teenagers scare the living shit out of me. They could care less as long as someone will bleed. So tuck in your clothes, I strike a violent pose. Maybe they'll leave you alone, but not me. All together now. Teenagers scare the living shit out of me. They could care less as long as someone will bleed. So tuck in your clothes, I strike a violent pose. Maybe they'll leave you alone, but not me. Teenagers scare the living shit out of me. They can care less as long as someone will bleed. So tuck in your clothes, I strike a violent pose. Maybe I'll leave you alone, but not me.
Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this lesson, then I know you'll absolutely love these other lessons too. So hit the link here. Or if you want to grab a copy of my free guitar ebook, then head over to guitarzerotohero.com or click the link here. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.